Hello Year 2, really nice to see you again. I thought it would be rather nice if I read to you some stories because I can't read them to you during the day. So the story I've chosen today is Fat Lawrence by Dick King-Smith. This is one of my favourite stories because I like cats. Okay, here we go. Here is Fat Lawrence. Chapter 1. Cats come in roughly 3 sizes: skinny, middling, or fat. There is a 4th size, very fat. But seldom do you see such a one as Lawrence Higgins. Lawrence was a cat of a 5th size, very, very fat indeed. He was black and so big and heavy that his owner, Mrs. Higgins of Rosevale, Forest Street, Morchester, could not lift him even an inch from the ground. "Oh, Lawrence Higgins," she would say, as she named the cat after her late husband, even though he had actually been quite small and thin. "Oh, Lawrence Higgins, why are you so fat? It isn't as though I overfeed you. You only get 1 meal a day." And this was true. At around 8 o'clock in the morning, Lawrence would come into Rosevale through the cat flap, from wherever he'd been since the previous day, to receive his breakfast. Then, when he'd eaten the bowl of cat meat that Mrs. Higgins put before him, he would hoist his black bulk into an armchair and sleep until midday. There he is, having a lovely sleep. Then out he would go again, where to Mrs. Higgins never knew. She had become used to the fact that her cat only ever spent the mornings at Rosevale. 5 doors further down Forest Street, at Hillview, Mr. and Mrs. Norman also had a cat, a black cat, the fattest black cat you ever saw. "Oh, Lawrence Norman," Mrs. Norman would say. They knew his name was Lawrence. They'd read it on a disc attached to his collar that day, months ago now, when he'd suddenly appeared on their windowsill, mewing. Lunchtime it was. "Oh, Lawrence Norman, why are you so fat?" "It isn't as though you overfeed him," said Mr. Norman. "No," said his wife, "he only gets 1 meal a day." And this was true. At lunchtime, Mrs. Norman would hear Lawrence mewing and let him in and give him a bowl of cat meat. Here he is, mewing loudly to come in. Then, when he'd eaten it, he would heave his black bulk onto the sofa and sleep till tea time. Then off he would go again, the Normans never knew where. They'd become accustomed to the fact that their cat only spent the afternoon at Hillview. Round the corner, in the next street, Woodland Way, there lived at number 33 an old man called Mr. Mason, alone save for his enormously fat black cat. It had slipped in through his back door one day months ago. Do you think you know who this might be? At tea time it was, and he had read his name on the collar. "Oh, Lawrence Mason," he would say, as hearing that scratch on the back door he let the black cat in and put down a bowl of cat meat. "Lawrence Mason, why are you so fat? It isn't as if I overfeed you. I only give you this 1 meal a day, and that's the truth." When Lawrence Mason had emptied the bowl, he would stretch his black bulk out on the hearth rug and sleep till supper time. Then out he would go again, where to old Mr. Mason didn't know. All he knew was that his cat only spent the evening at number 33. There he is, having a lovely sleep. In front of Woodland Way was the park, and on the other side of the park the houses were larger and posher. In one of them, the Gables, Pevensey Place, lived Colonel and Mrs. Barclay Lloyd, and their cat, who had arrived one evening at supper time, months ago now, wearing a collar with his name on it. Mrs. Barclay Lloyd had opened the front door of the Gables, and there, sitting at the top of a flight of steps that led up from the street, was this enormously black, fat cat. There he is, and this is their house. Each evening now at supper time, the Barclay Lloyds would set before Lawrence a dish of chicken nuggets and a saucer of gold-top milk. "Lawrence Berkeley Lloyd," the Colonel would say, "I cannot understand why you are so fat." "To look at him," his wife would say, "anyone would think he was getting 4 meals a day instead of just the one that we give him." When Lawrence had eaten his chicken and drunk his milk, he would hump his black bunk up the stairs and clamber onto the foot of the Berkeley Lloyds' 4-post bed and fall asleep. The Colonel and his wife took to going to bed early too, knowing that at around 7 o'clock next morning they would be woken by their cat mewing loudly to be let out of the gables. They never knew where he went, only that they wouldn't see him again until the following evening. And here he is, mewing loudly to get out. Do you think you know where he's going? Perhaps we'll find out tomorrow. That's all for now. Bye-bye.